What's going on, guys? Welcome to my first shows, I guess. This is the problem that I managed to figure out with Knack, and I just want to share this with Knack community. So basically, what I have here is a permits tracking table. So a little bit about me. I'm actually a Knack developer or Knack app builder, whatever you guys call it. I work in the constructions world, as some of the guys here in the community does. Is we build tools for construction company, and a lot of planning tools are not really great. You have like Builder Trend, you have like so many other companies out there. They're code based, and your company kind of grow and you get stuck in one software, and you can't really customize it. Your other option is going to be like Monday.com or like Salesforce and so on. But things can get expensive, right? So next, as you guys all know, is the cheapest. You pay $1,200 a year. You have unlimited user. You don't have to worry about it, and the app can scale as however you want to scale it. So that's what I like about Next so far. And of course, with the new flow that's being released, money. So this is something I want to show you guys how this works. So this is a permit tracker subtable. So basically, whenever we build a house, we need a permits, right? So basically, this subtable is generate preconditions table records, right? So it's a one-to-many tables, and so every time you have the performer input date, and then you have the actual date, and then what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to calculate the date between these two dates here, the start date and the end date. That will give you the actual date, right? So the problem with Knack is that when you update a data here, let's say you update the actual data over here, right? Let's say you update the data over here, right? There's absolutely no way that this data will actually input on the end date log, right? So what is this trying to do is that when you input data, when you input a start date here, it will log a start date, but also it will close out the previous submitter date, right? The previous milestone. So it's like a dependency, if you want to think about it. Like, if one thing's happened, it dependent on another. So every single item here is dependent on another. It's a cascading waterfall, a cascading effect. So I just figure it out. So basically, you have to update this record, and then you have to that data table to look back all the data, and then look at the specific line item, and then paste that data back in here. Right, that's what I did. I want to show you guys. I kind of refresh this. So you refresh it, that's happened there, right? So this can be applied to almost a lot of your projects. So we all know Excel is our best friend, right? For all of us, So this is the origin idea, right? You have the budget here, and then you have the actual here, right? And then you have the projection. And I'll show you guys the why I built out for the projection. So the very first, the things we hear is that, like the data here, it's kind of a synchronized against each other, right? You can see that, like the work. So originally my team was like, okay, you need to take the 2 days, the days before and the day after, and minus each other to find the work days different, right? So basically, through this workday process, you can see this formula, right? It's an if error formula. It's like the start date and end date, right? So it's from a Knack idea perspective, right? It's a record table, right? So what I did was, I have a similar logics there. So you have a start date, and then you have an end date here, right? An end date, right? So we know that this is always referencing the bottom data, right? Referencing the bottom data, and that's going to give us an output, right? Between this end date minus that, right? So it's 9. So this is pretty much the same thing as there. Right? So that's what we did. Pretty much straightforward. As you can see, these two number matches each other. That's the logics, right? So the next thing is what you want to do is a little bit create a reference ID, right? So that's why I create this thing called a number ranking, or like number hashtag, right? Hashtag here. So this is always in this specific sequence, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So that's like, especially like there's exactly 10 items here, right? So this is something crazy too. So I talked to putting up Knack Support AI. I think Knack Support AI has been improving and it's been tremendously helping me to like kind of putting this together as well. So you guys should just try to use that. Knack Support, you do a chat, you kind of like talk through it, talk through the logics of how you want it to work, right? So here it's what it is, right? So this is the example of the data table, right? So this is what we have to build in the data table to display this data. Yeah, so now let's start, right? Now, okay, now I'm going to show you the flow. How is that going to look, right? So here's the flow. Okay, so we're going to go through the flow on the back end now. Okay. And I promise you, everything I did here can be found in the chat right here. Like I literally chat this guy out, using Kanavi. Pretty good stuff. So like I literally chat Kanavi and explain to him every single thing here. So shit, it works. So that's all that matters. And it works. Okay, so I'm gonna explain to you in details what I did here, right? So in Kiavi here, the first thing you need to do is you need to identify how this trigger happened, right? So this trigger happened. This trigger happened when the record is being updated, right? So whenever the actual date here is updated, right? Whenever the actual date here is being updated, or this record table is being updated, right? So this record table I have is called the permit tracker subtable. So whenever this table is updated, right, then we need to tell the system to do something, right? So what we decide to do here is that when the record table is updated, actually asking the system to actually search for this record data, right? So luckily, and this is going to work a little bit different. So here's a caveat, right? I actually have a master table. I have two master table connecting to it. Okay, maybe this is not the right way to build it, but because my architecture is a little bit complex. So just keep in mind that when you do this record search, you're gonna need to have a parents objects that's connecting to all this record. So what does that mean, right? So what that means is, if you go back here, no, that's not the right one. I'm sorry guys for being like super disorganized because I want to pretty excited. I want to share with you guys this. My Excel. Where's my Excel? This guy here. Okay, so everything here is a child record. Okay, so this is my permit table child record, and the problem with this is that the UID for each one of this line item is actually different, right? The record ID, right? So you have the record ID here, right? Record ID, record UID, right? So everything in this record UID here is kind of like unique, right? So I just name it unique. So every single line item here is unique. So it's really difficult to like look up a record table and look up this number. So what I did was actually I connect this with a parents object. Right, I made this to a parents object, right? Because in my section I have it, and my parents objects here is actually the permits table, okay? And a little bit of the architecture that I built out here. I just want to show you the architecture. So what I have here is I have two parents objects. So parents number one, right? So I have project, right? You have a project, and then a project will submit, let's see, and of course it's kind of nice because being an Excel wizard too, right? So a project can apply for multiple permits, right? If you're in the construction world, you know that you have a permit for plumbing, you have a permit for the plans, you have a permit for concrete, you have a permit for fencing. Like, it's kind of stupid in freaking USA to have, well, actually all around the world to have permits. And of course, like, permits are there, it's important. Permits is there to help you stay safe. That's what I learned, is that The reason why we have permits, especially in like Alaska and so on, where there's earthquake, and the reason why your house is still standing there is because of freaking permits. You build it right, you make sure you build it right so that your house doesn't collapse. So yeah, so you have projects and you have permits, right? Now, what this table is trying to do is it's trying to track how long it takes for all these permits, permits to be done, right? So you have, this is the budget here, this is a pro forma, right? Your budget's permit, and then you have your actual, right? So now you have like, okay, this is what I budgeted for, but I want to track what's my actual, what's my time frame. It's more like a scaling app. So a permits, and then you have, a permits milestone, right? Permits milestone, budget, and actual, right? And that's the reason why I have to build it this way too. Is for reporting later down the road, right? Building an app it's easy. You can close your eyes and do it, but once you start build it for reporting, for multiple level reporting, and you're trying to do a SQL code to get rid, it's a lot of work. So better you build it right the first time, right? So the thing is, I do not have any background in technology. I actually have a background in finance. So if you're telling me about spreadsheets and profit and income statements and so on, and putting all together, I'm actually a certified NetSuite guy. But knowing a little bit of concept between how data structure works, you can build a lot of things. So this will help you. So in project, right? So you have one project. So one project can build many permits, right? You have many permits type, right? Many permits type, right? And now each permit type, right? Each permit type can have many different milestones, right? Can have many different milestones. Yeah. So in the future, right? In the future, what report can you do, right? In the future, using this architecture, what report can you do? You can run milestone of each permit type, right? You can also run milestone of a specific permit type that link to a zip code. Because in projects, right? In projects, you will have property address, zip code, right? So what does this do, right? This actually gives you the database of every single city's efficiency. Every cities have a lifetime. Some underwork and so on, right? So this is how it's built, right? To understand this, give you a little bit more context. So let's throw it back here. So now you have the parents permits table, right? Now, which is this, right? The sub parents, right? So parents, and then this is parents again, parents, and we call them grandparents, right? And then this guy is actually a child and a grandchild, right? Grandchild. Okay. This project is pretty cool. So that's why I want to show you guys. Okay, so now we want to be able to have this. We want to have this permits table, which is the parents of the permits of permits milestone, right? Parents of permits milestone, right? So let me put some data here, right? That'll be easier. So your unique ID is, let's just say, every Knack has a unique ID into it. So let's just put TLH, TLQ1, TLQ. Of course, I can always do this TLQ, and I'm just gonna do this, referencing that, right? As a text, right? There we go. Okay. Well, you learned from Excel today. You know, Excel is the foundations of life. I'll tell you guys that. This is my life. And so this permits table, right? Let's just say that let's just give like this project, right? So the project UID, right, or record ID it's PR1, okay, and then you have your permits record ID is PR oh PR no that's yeah PTR1, okay, so record table permits table record ID, okay, and then okay, so now your permits table here is PRT1, right? So just visually conceptualized here, right? So okay, so this is how the flow is going to work, right? So what the flow is going to do is when a data is triggered in the permits table, right? So how this flow works is that when the data is being triggered in the permit table, right? What it does, it actually look for this PR1, okay? Let's tell it to look for the permit table record ID so that we can find all the data. We can find all the data that is looking in this record. That is all that data that is related to this record. Right? To this permit table child record, right? So what it's trying to do, right? So your record table milestone is a child table, right? When anything happen in the child table, it's gonna look up to the parents, and the parents will be like, oh, I have like 10 child over here. I have 10 child. Which child would you like me to update? Right? So that's the next thing you're gonna do, right? So now since the data, so let's say that I update the data in here, right? In this line 5 right here, right? In this line number 5, we update the data here. We're gonna tell it to look at to tell it, okay, hey, the parents, go update this other child number 4, right? So the flow is that, okay, so now tell the parents to look for the child that is previous and update the field call and date. Okay, so that's what I did, right? So that's basically the statement, right? We update the data here, tell the parents, hey, parents of this record TYQ, you know, I want you to update the previous child. And the parents will be like, oh, you want the previous child? Okay, let me look at all the record ID that's connected to me as a parent, and then look at number 4, okay? And then after that, you tell us to update, okay? So that's basically the example of how this did. So I'm gonna show you over here. This is what I did. This is the trigger, right? So just something about flow, and it took me like 3 hours to figure this out. You guys, you're gonna learn that in less than 3 hours. So here it is. So in the field design for the each record trigger in the first update, what he's trying to say is that, is this going to be a continuous update, or you only update one time, right? So because this is a continuous update, because every time something changes, right, I need to instantly update the table. So this is how I did it, right? So I put no. So for each record trigger, only a first update. Nope. So no, press no on that. And this is the search. The next thing you're gonna add is called the search for single record. Okay, search for a single record. And I'm gonna show you how that works. I'm gonna take a pause on this. I'm gonna kind of like replicate this a little bit. You're gonna click here. I'm gonna replicate these steps for you guys. Okay, it's gonna click here, actions, and you're gonna click on Knack, and then you're going to click on update, search for a single record, and you're gonna select which app, right? Because I have like plenty of freaking app over here just playing around, right? So click on real estate. That's what I have as an app, and then you're gonna click on like which objects you want to decide on, right? So my objects, my single record, that object that I'm looking at is actually the permits tracker subtable, right? So that's the table that's pulling the data, right? So I click on that, right? Yes. Okay. So that's this. Then we'll give you. Okay. Now you need to map your field. Okay. So this is basically your filtering process, right? So now you're tearing the parents. Okay. Now you got to find this data table. Okay. So you have to click on is here. The operator is, it has to be matching this data. It cannot be like hallucinate. This is very specific data you need to look at. So you put an is here, and then this is a match ID, and then it has to be like okay, this is, you need to do this, they have to match, and then you can like match other things as well. So basically, when you put an R here, this is R per line item here. If you put an N here, then these three have to match, have to be like one single criteria to do it. It's very similar how SQL, right? If you guys know SQL, exactly the same thing, okay? Like, this is just another interface for SQL. Basically, that's what Knack is. If you don't know SQL, that's fine. Just keep watching. That's okay. Life still goes on. Yeah, so you have this, and then you press save. Okay, so basically, I kind of told you guys, right? I have two parents. I have master parents here, and then I have permits tracker ID here. Kind of just want to put in there, just like my fail safe, Actually, probably going to give me an error down the road, but you can just pick one of them. After that, you're going to have a number rank here. So this thing here, so a little bit about Knack, it's that you cannot, at first, right? At first, I actually have this, at first, right? I'm just showing you guys what I meant. At first, my code was this. So you guys saw that I have a number rank, right? I have a number rank here, 1 to 10, right? A number rank from 1 to 10. So what happening is that honestly, at first, I thought I was just doing this. I did rank in here. I used number rank here, and then I put a formula -1. Okay. Just want to let you know, Knack doesn't support that. This flow doesn't. It's not like Zapier or Make where you can just write a formula directly into it, like calculate a formula. It does not. This is not a cap. Just like how you write a SQL or your JavaScript code, you cannot write a formula. You have to write a formula separately and then do as a field, and then you use it as a container to look up, right? So I learned that by trial and error because I find that out. So what I did here, and I just want to show you guys, I create a new field, right? I create a new field, and let me just move this down, right? Actually, move this down here. This down here. So this is called workday, right? It's called workday. I create a new field. We call it number rank -1. So what happening is that I'll take this -1. Ah. Oh wow. Oh, because I have my mic turned on. Don't type anything. Okay. Oh, you did. You totally did it. Okay. Right. Okay. It's right. Choose it. So 1 -1 here, you got 0, and then you just apply to all of it, right? So now it actually just pasting the data 1, right? So that's really pretty straightforward, right? I create a brand new field called number rank -1, number rank -1, and it give you that data. Give you that data. Then we run -1, and you press save. I'm gonna press save. Gonna not do anything. Okay. So now what we did, right? What we just did is that we are telling the parents, hey parents, okay. When a child is triggered, anything that's happening in my child in my baby crib, anything, if my baby crib rock, right? Anything happen here, if the data is updated, go look for my child and then update the previous child, right? That's what it did. So if this is 5, right? If this is 5, go update number 4, right? Go update number 4. That's it. Hey, maybe you guys got a better way to write this, not me. So I did it. So you guys got stuck, just reach out to me. I'll figure it out. Okay. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna tell it's gonna search for that single record ID, right? So what's that single record ID, right? So what they did was you're triggering here at TYQ5, looking for all the parents in here, right? And now it look, okay. Now it looked for the previous data, which is 4, and then it's give you the new record ID is TYQ4, okay? When it give you new record ID, right? So that's the search for a single record, okay? So make sure when you put in here, you're selecting the step number 2. You're pulling data from a single record number 2. If you're selecting step 1, it's actually just going to update. If you're going to step 1, it's just going to update this guy again, right? It's going to update number 5 again. So you don't want to do that. You can do that directly, right? And then you're going to ask the table field, okay, what am I updating? So you are updating the actual date, right? So what I did was, when technically, so you have another table here. And to give you guys a little bit more context, because I kind of make this a little bit more actual date. These two can combine, basically. Actual date and start date can be combined, but what I did was create another set of date here, which is not a view. It's it's okay. We have 50,000 record, and it's horizontal anyway. It's not can have as big of a table here anyway. Don't worry about it. So that's what I did. When these guys update, it will just paste data over here. That's all I did, right? So I want the actual date, which is this date, right, to be pasting here. That's it. That's all I did. Yeah, and then I press save. That's it. That's literally it, right? So I'm gonna let it run again. Cool. Well, I'll let it run again, and you can see in real life, right? So I'm gonna refresh this. And then the thing with Knack is, of course, I should have built this JavaScript, right? So every time I hit something, it's gonna make refresh. Yeah. So let's see. All right, you have the actual date here, the review, right? Let's just put another date here. As you can see, right, the end date is blank, right? When you put an actual date here, this date should be automatically populate, and then this should be filled, right? So 11:30, and we're gonna do like December 1st. Okay, that will update. This is not updated yet. You're gonna click refresh. Flow is triggering on the back end, and paste there. Okay. Why did I not do this in Zapier or Make? Why? Simple answer is Knack is free, right? Like it's free, so I'm just gonna build everything here inside of Knack Flow and let it run and just let it manage by itself. You don't have to. It's free. I don't have to worry about Make. Make is cheap, by the way. Make limitations or Zapier and what account shutdown. I'd rather have everything shut down in Knack than trying to I'm a one-man show in my company, so that's a little bit different too. Yeah, I'm running a 600 people company right here with one dev. So surviving, but it's doable. If you guys hiring, let me know. I just love building projects, by the way. So you guys, I'm just a builder, not a software guy, but So yeah, you kind of have this right now. This basically give you the actual date right here, and then just pull the data down. All right, so you can see here, right? You have the actual date, you have the start date and the end date. So these 2 days minus each other, it gives you the actual days, right? And that's about it. Yeah. Okay, that's if you guys want to see more, so let me show you guys another thing that I figured out. This is part 2, okay? Part 2. part 2. So if we look at this priority table, okay, if you're going back here, ooh, issue Carolyn, I have a lot of property, so don't worry about it. Carolyn, right? So this have this data here, right? So now you see this here. I have the forma submittal, I have the insurance number, I have the project issue days, right? These 3 days here is pulling from this subtable data here. It's pulling from this sub data table here, right? Which is here, basically. Okay, it's pulling from this sub data table here. Now, the problem with Knack is that it doesn't allow you to add a conditional. It doesn't allow you to add a connections field and filter them out. And here's what I meant. Okay, so if you guys see, this is my. I'm gonna go back to my builder right now. And this is my subtable. This is my, not subtable. Well, this is how I did it, right? So this is the primary table, right? This is your submittal tracker table. So if you go back to here, which is the parents, right? That's the permits table. That's what we call it, the permits table, right? And what happening is that if I go to add a field here, I'm going to click on connections here, and I'm going to find the subtable here. And I want to pull in only like the actual date, right? Because like the actual date here, right? This is the actual date. What's gonna happen here is that it's gonna give you the data, like you can see here. It's gonna give you the data of all the actual date in that record table, in the child record table, right? So I'm the parents. It doesn't allow me to tell you, okay, I only want you to display to me my child number 4 or my child number 5. Like it cannot do that, right? One way you can do that is actually, well, you can circumvent it a little bit by like press a setting, add a default in, choose which records you want to show, but it doesn't really work. So here is one way you're gonna circumvent it. And how did I know about this? Frick, dude, just use Knack support. That's how I learned it. That's how I did it. Use Knack support, and they kind of figure it out with you. So what I did, I'm going to show you the data table here. I said that. I'm going to show you the naming convention is so important, guys. Make sure you're naming your stuff here. This is the tracker primary, right? This is what I did. Okay. There's a bunch of max formula I have to convert. Okay. So the first thing you probably want to do is actually converting your date to time seconds. Okay. So you can see here I have the actual date here. I'm actually converting the date to numbers, right? Convert dates, numbers to actual. So I put dates here. Just copy this setting. Just listen. Don't worry about it. Just copy this setting. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Trust me. Just copy setting. You'll be fine. So you put a date here. You put seconds. You put numbers here. You put an actual date over here. Once that's done, it will give you a date string number. Okay. So date string number. Okay. Then you go to your primary, which is your parents object, right? And then you're going to create a formula called max. Okay, so for that exact one here, I just did, this is how I did it, right? That's the actual milestone. Okay, that's not that one. I did it, this one here. Okay, so this is an example, okay? Now, what I want to do is that I want to find the pro forma issuance date. A pro forma issuance date, right? So I want it to be pulling the issuance date, this date, of the pro forma, right? You have the 1/17/26. I want to pull this data, display here on my primary table, right? On my parents table, right? I want only this specific date. So what I did was you convert that to a string, which we already did in parents, right? In the child, right? Now you're gonna create a max value because I think that's the only way. You can do max or you do sum. That's what you can do. Or you do min. It doesn't matter. You can use any data type that you want. And then you're gonna click on this. Convert the numbers to the pro forma. Well, that's the field that I did, right? Click on that. On these two, I have 2 of them to convert, right? Okay. Click on that. And then in the formula filter here, you're gonna filter out issue data, right? You only want the data to be displaying issue, right? So then I press the update field, Once that's done, it's actually going to give you a string number, right? So if you look at the record here, my record over here, and you see here, it's going to give you a string, right? This is in seconds, okay? Don't worry about it. You want to learn about it, go YouTube it. It's just, every day have a string second is converted back, right? So you have a string seconds. And then what happened then is that you're going to go to equations, and you're going to reconvert it back. Yeah, I know it's a pain, right? But it's a lot of back and forth. But once you do it once, it's fine. Knack can support it. It's not like less than 1 megabyte. So you can click on seconds and dates here, and you put in that field that you have there, and make sure it's the same data type, right? And you click save. So what it did is, once that's done, it will actually convert your data back to here. Okay. Another thing I did too, and you can try to circumvent this as well. It's I built this is part 3, guys. All right, part 3. Okay. So I built a projected permit issue date. Okay. So what does that mean, right? So you guys can see here that we have performer inputs day, right? This is the budget performer days for you to complete. So when you have all these date here, you have the performer work day, right? So that's what we planned for. That's what we budgeted for, right? So hopefully your actual date will be like very closely mimicking the performer input day, right? Like it's like it has to be hopefully the same, right? So what happening here is they can see as the actual date being inputted, we want to be projecting what is my schedule for my issue date, right? So it's a cascading dependency thing, right? So what I did was, and maybe this is not the right way to build it, but this is the fastest way and I know how to do it. It's you create another field called add data prediction take number, right? So you have the sum of performer here, and then you're gonna sum up these days, okay? You're gonna sum all these days based on this filtering, right? If this is yes, if all of this is yes, then you only sum only the yes number, and then add in the latest actual date. That will give you the projected date. Okay. So what are we trying to do? So what we're gonna do? It's pretty straightforward. We are going to go for part 3. All right, check out my YouTube video.